At Red Lobster on Mother's Day. Y'all, why was that my last shift working there? I just got a phone call this morning saying our location is closed. But y'all know Red Lobster was going bankrupt. Like, they don't have no money to be playing around. And our location we was cool, but we wasn't the best location. So it makes sense. So I ain't gonna lie, if you work at Red Lobster, you need to start finding something else to do.
This week has been an absolute nightmare for many of the people who work at Red Lobster, as Red Lobster employees all around the country are showing up to work only to find out that their restaurants have been permanently shut down and that they have lost their jobs without warning. I've heard from several people who were literally working one day. They have no warning. Everything seems fine. Their job seems secure. Then they show up to work the next day only to find out that their location has been permanently shut down, and they're even already auctioning off items from inside of these restaurants as employees pull up to work with no warning at all. And a lot of these people, they have rent due, they have bills that need to be paid. Isn't it crazy that these businesses, they want a 2-week warning? You know, we want a 2-week notice when you're about to quit, but we can just abruptly shut down this entire location overnight without letting you know anything at all. Now, the question is, how did we get here? Well, for one, I think we are witnessing the start of a purge. A lot of these businesses, a lot of these restaurants, and just companies overall, they never recovered from everything that we went through a few years ago with the lockdowns. And of course, the economy is trash. Inflation is through the roof. And then all of these employees, they want higher wages, and then the cost of food is going up. People can't afford to eat there anymore. There's a lot of different problems, right, that are happening right now within our economy that are causing, a lot of these businesses to shut down. And Red Lobster is the latest example of that. But when it comes to Red Lobster, what else has been going on there? Now, when I was a kid, and let me know, is anyone on the same page as me? When I was a kid, I looked at Red Lobster like it was a fancy schmancy place. I thought Red Lobster was like top of the line when it came to restaurants. I thought it was like one of the most fancy places around. Of course, I ate there a couple of times as a kid, but once I grew up and I had my own money to go out to eat, I realized that, hey, Red Lobster isn't that fancy after all. There's a lot. In fact, Red Lobster, it doesn't even register on the scale of fanciness. You know what I mean? But the question I have is, was Red Lobster always kind of not that great? Or did Red Lobster decline over the years? Because even though I know Red Lobster isn't like this fine dining, 5-star fancy restaurant, and it never really was, even though when you're a kid you think of it that way, it seemed to be at least a lot more fancy back in the day. It seemed to be a nicer place. I remember going there as a kid and it seemed like a nice place. But by the time I was an adult with my own money, I went there and it was like kind of ghetto and ratchet. You know what I mean? It was not the same vibes that I remember having as a child at all. It was just your run-of-the-mill chain restaurant with sometimes drama popping off inside of there and everything. It was not the Red Lobster of old. And I don't know how much of it was me as a kid just thinking this place was so fancy, or how much of it is Red Lobster just kind of went downhill. And the crowd that used to be at Red Lobster kind of moved on, and now more of a ratchet crowd came in and kind of took over. Because that's what it seems like happened to me. But maybe I'm wrong. Like I said, at the end of the day, when you're a kid, you view things one way, and then you grow up and realize, things weren't necessarily how I viewed them when I was a child. But I think it's safe to say with all of that to the side, that Red Lobster has gone downhill in recent years. And to see them going out of business, shutting down locations, filing for bankruptcy, it's very surprising. Because even though Red Lobster has been going downhill, Red Lobster is still a staple. Red Lobster is basically in any town that you go to, and there's usually people eating there. So if Red Lobster is failing, what other companies are secretly failing and we don't know yet? Because what's been happening over the past few years is some of these companies have managed to stay afloat, but I don't think they're that profitable, and I don't even understand how they're holding on. They're hanging on by a thread, and I feel like we are kind of living in a false sense of reality, thinking that things are going better than how they're actually going. But when you pull back the curtain, there's a lot of Red Lobsters. There's a lot of companies that are one day away from shutting down hella locations and going away forever. And like I said, Red Lobster seems to be more of a stable staple of our society. You have a Red Lobster everywhere, it usually gets business. So if somewhere like Red Lobster is struggling, you have to imagine that a lot of these other businesses, not just restaurants, but a lot of these other businesses are struggling as well. We're starting to watch Best Buy and all of these other places. They're starting to shut down locations too. And before we know it, we're going to be living in a country where there's not going to be many physical locations left for you to eat or for you to shop. Everything's going to come to your front door. Everything's either going to be Uber Eats out of ghost kitchens, or it's going to be Amazon. But I want to go ahead and roll this news clip really quickly so we can hear a little bit more about what's going on with Red Lobster, and then I'll be right back with more thoughts.
Days of endless shrimp and cheesy biscuits may be gone. Red Lobster quietly shutting down stores all across the country, including right here in Western New York. And as 7 News reporter Hannah Ferreira explains tonight, employees were caught by surprise.
3 Red Lobster locations in Western New York, all with the same sign found taped to their doors Monday, reading, "This location is closed," in what appears to be a nationwide occurrence. Ramon Garcia tells me he found out he lost his job at the Hamburg Red Lobster not from corporate, but from the cook.
I'm not thinking nothing of it. I'm getting calls after calls this morning, and my boy Don called me. He's like, "Oh yeah, you should come in right now." I was like, "Why? I'm off today." He's like, "Man, you just need to come in because there's a lot of stuff going on."
But what corporate did tell them?
We got 3 days to clean out the restaurant.
According to recent reporting by Bloomberg, the seafood chain has been considering filing for bankruptcy due to rising costs.
I didn't know that we were going bankrupt, but I kind of knew, you know what I'm saying, with they're cutting back on a lot of stuff.
Hamburg, Amherst, and Williamsville locations now labeled as temporarily closed. The Denny's near the Amherst location even leaving a sign for Red Lobster employees to join their team across the street.
This has just happened out of nowhere. Like, all the people that we worked with, they're losing jobs, and they're not knowing what to expect after that. It's kind of taking a toll on them. A lot.
I've reached out to corporate, but have yet to hear back.
Now, as I was saying earlier, I do believe that the decline of quality in Red Lobster may be partially to blame for some of what's gone wrong with their business. But I think what we're witnessing with Red Lobster is just the beginning. And I don't even want to say it's just the beginning. It's just one of the first businesses where we were able to pull back the curtain and really see what's going on. I believe that we're going to start seeing a domino effect almost, where we're going to start witnessing a lot of other companies coming forward, basically being realistic about their financial situations. I think we're going to see a lot of people lose jobs. And the more they push for higher wages, which I think people should be able to afford to live, but at the same time, the way these prices are going up, people can't afford to go out to eat the way they used to. People can't even afford to buy groceries. And all of these fast food restaurants and these chain restaurants, they're going to be the next to go. First, we watched the big box stores. Like, first we watched the Sears and stuff like that. a lot of the retail locations. Now I think we're going to start witnessing a lot of these restaurants go under. You know, with Uber Eats and the fact that people are kind of encouraged to stay home, that's another, I think, factor in all of this. And overall, it's just the economy right now. It is terrible. It is rough out there for everyone. Everyone is struggling to get by. Even freaking Red Lobster. You would think that Red Lobster would be okay. But no, Red Lobster is not okay. No one's okay. The problem is everyone is pretending to be okay. Now, you and me, we could pretend to be okay because we don't have, thousands of employees to worry about, and we don't have these businesses to keep afloat. But when these businesses pretend to be okay because they want to prop up certain politicians, eventually the truth is going to come out. Now, what I think is going to happen here is as it becomes clearer and clearer that there is no path to victory for a certain political party, I believe that we're going to witness the economy I think that they are going to purposely further tank the economy so the next president has to deal with those issues. Now, the next president is already going to have to take on a horrible economy. Okay, they're going to inherit a horrible economy. But I think that now that it looks like the path to victory is becoming slimmer and slimmer by the day, I think we're going to witness the self-sabotage that has been going on in this country for years now. I think we're going to witness it. I think it's going to get 10 times worse. I think we're going to witness them pour literal flames onto the fire, fuel onto the fire, sorry, not flames. I think we're going to witness them because we've already seen a lot of self-sabotage. I think they're going to crank things up a bit, times 10. Times 10. So by the time November hits, hell, will we have anywhere else left to eat at? Probably not. But maybe that's a good thing for me because I need to go on a diet anyway. And the endless shrimp at freaking Red Lobster, that's the last thing I need. But then again, I haven't eaten at Red Lobster in years. But anyway, let me know your thoughts about this down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell. And I'll talk to you all soon in the next one.